Alright, let's do a few songs, some mellow songs for a mellow day, a rainy day, and we'll do a few low-key numbers. Starting off with the song that I haven't played, I probably haven't played this since I recorded it for the American Infidel album, which is over 14 years ago. So it's got some. It was a fun one to write, and but I haven't had the opportunity to play it live. You kind of need a devoted band for that. You got to get past the California Hills, and which is a fun song to play, but it's a live standard. These songs are not optional. So any band that's going to play some bar on the corner of Yesterday and Nowhere needs to learn California Hills, Heart by Heart, 20 others roughly that are absolutely not optional. This one's optional, and this is the kind of song you'd play if you had a devoted band and could kind of work your way into the third and fourth set of material. So game's not over yet. You never know what's going to happen. So it's called Happiness is Submission to God. With the cops on my tail and the devil on my back, I crossed under the bridge and over the tracks, a pillar of smoke and an old Cadillac to take me back to wherever I came from. Sailboats of fire as far as I can see, and junky chicks with needles in their knees. I don't have time for your ridiculous decrees. There ain't nobody gonna make a meal out of me. I saw a skeleton wrapped in a poodle skirt. I saw a telephone ringing, in the dirt. I saw the face of Christ in the cigarette burns on my shirt. Lord, I am not worthy. A voice in the clouds screamed, lay off the junk, everything is on cocaine, and I'm always drunk. All the towns look the same, and everybody's punk. I'm a street, I'm your favorite crazy uncle. Someday I'll be back, but for now I'm off counting sidewalks in the crap. 18 wheels on my heels, and I'm feeling fine. When I get to win, a bucket gonna have me some wine. Used to be I could see, but now I am blind. You wanna spend the night with me? Hey, I don't mind. I was drunk off my ass, I was loaded like a gun. Well, I slept like a Camaro in the sun, but the cactus on the hills aren't having any fun. It's another slow news day in heaven. Someday I'll be back, but for now I'm off counting sidewalks in the crap. The sun filled the sky with jealousy and rage. I am a child of this ridiculous age. My fist is the actor, your face is the stage. That's just true. The moon hung low in a Betty Page sky. Marilyn Monroe, it's time for you to die. Hollywood girls and hollow-eyed guys with murder in their hearts and stars in their eyes. reality is relative, or so I'm told. Whoever said that never spent a night out in the cold. The meek shall inherit the earth, and luck favors the bold. We know we're old enough to know better. Someday I'll be back, but for now I'm off counting sidewalks in the crack. The snow was wearing handcuffs and we were in love. In the back of a squad car I finally discovered my purpose. Drunk and disheveled and covered in bruises from head to toe. Well, I don't need a nurse and I don't need a medic. Well, everybody knows bad news is genetic, and all this heartache is giving me a headache. So put down the cure and pass the anesthetic. I'm full of a piss and it's 9 a.m. She's talking to me, but she's looking at him. The lights in the waiting room are a little too dim. Somebody please tell me what I'm doing here again. Someday I'll be back, but for now I'm off counting sidewalks in the crack. Spare the child and spoil the rod. Happiness is submission to God. I thought I was in control, but I was a fraud. From the bar stools of Barstow to the land of Nod. Yeah, that one is still pretty good. There's a lot of truth in that song, a little bit of imagination. That one stanza that says, I was loaded like a gun, I slept like a Camaro in the sun, but the cactus on the hills aren't having any fun. It's another slow news day in heaven. Actually is true. I had a show in Tucson back in '06 or something, and I was living in my car at the time, and so I was drinking at the time, and in '06 you could actually walk right up to the railroad tracks in downtown Tucson. Now they've been fenced off now for a little while, and so I stayed out all night drinking on the railroad tracks, and I was sleeping in my car at the time, and the show was in June in Tucson, and I went to bed in the car. I found a residential neighborhood. I made note of where I parked, found my car, and went to bed in the car around the time the sun started to get light in the sky. So it was going to be a rough day. Well, it was unbearable in a couple of hours, and I woke up absolutely, probably still drunk, definitely not feeling good. And I had a map, and I rode up. I went to a grocery store and bought a bunch of water and some basic items, some carrots and some tortillas and some peanut butter. I don't know. Drove up to Mount Lemon, I think it is, which is high enough in elevation that there's actually pine trees up there. And I must have checked in. I don't remember. I don't think that's a free area. I don't know. Probably not. But I went camping just to get some peace and sleep, get away from the city in the middle of June. I'm tired. I need to go to sleep. And I just passed out on a picnic table in the morning. But when the sun passed over me and was straight down on me for an hour or two, it absolutely burned me to the point that I had trouble walking. And I woke up. I was wearing shorts, like cargo shorts. I don't know if I had a shirt on or not. I don't remember. But my legs, at least, were just absolutely. It was like walking on hot coals. And that was a rough. So that actually really happened. I always had problems with that line. I always did. And this is what a lot of people don't understand about songwriting. And they think that you can walk into a song with an agenda of what you're going to write before you start writing it. And I'm sure that's been done. I think, like Dante, when he wrote the Divine Comedy, I think that each canto is divided up into like little stanzas, whatever you call them, that have 3 lines in them, and the first and the third line in each of those stanzas rhymes, and that's intense. I mean, I read an English translation of it where he actually did the same in English, and he actually translated it to the point that the first and the third lines in those 3-line stanzas rhymed in English, which is a real feat, maybe even harder than Dante. So maybe the beatnik, whatever comes off the roof of your mouth at any given time, is what you should write, and you should kind of take the Jack Kerouac school of unedited writing, and I think there's a lot of value in that. It might not be, well, it's definitely a trend. So I threw this line in there: the meek shall inherit the earth and luck favors the bold, you're old enough to know better, because it was right for the song. I never agreed with it. I put it in the song anyway because it's what the song needed. It worked for the song. Is it a good line? Is it doctrinally sound? No, it's not. And this is why I can't stand artistic legalists or people who think that and I'm very pro-America. I hate white guilt. I can't stand America guilt. So with that said, America is one of the countries, I'm sure it's probably very common in the history of the planet, but artlessness is actually a virtue there. And it's like a virtue. If you don't have any art in your heart, then somehow you're a better person. You can engage in the one virtue that that pedophiles engage in. They pay the rent and they pay the phone bill, and then all of a sudden you're a good person. You don't have to pay attention to anything else. You are very two-dimensional or very black and white in your thinking. There's no gray areas. You're morally relativistic, but art is a anything can be art. I'm talking about 10 things at once because I'm not really interested in focusing on one topic and making a video about that. Probably too late. But it's a way because I've questioned my own faith 1,000 times at least. I mean, thousands of times, hundreds of times at least. I mean. And I have the history to prove that I'm like, if you really say that you're a Christian, well, you're not bearing a lot of fruit. And that was true for 30 years, 20 plus years. It's like, yeah, you're right, I'm not. Am I a Christian? I mean, it certainly doesn't look like it. I don't necessarily feel like it. I've got the song lyrics that discuss this search and this journey and this process at length. So this is just kind of part of that. They're song lyrics. They're not scripture. It's a great book. It's not scripture. One of these 19th century intellectuals or poet maybe was quoted as saying once, and I'm paraphrasing, that I don't have to read Newton's law of thermodynamics 10 times a day to get the point. I can read it once and absorb the knowledge. And why do you have to read the Bible every day? Are you some kind of an imbecile? And he's kind of going under the assumption that the Bible is like Grimm's fairy tales or Dante's Inferno. You don't have to read it every day. He doesn't understand that the Bible is not a piece of literature. It's an actual living document from God. It's an actual living book. No other human writing is alive. It's all Polaroids, epitaphs, and and maybe some historical documentation, but it's not holy writ. So I can't stand artistic legalism. Especially in an age that claims to be talking about all this moral relativism. But I don't respect those people enough to care what they think about anything. You're morally relativistic, anything can be art, but I'm wrong about everything because I disagree about something that you don't agree with. It's a paradox, it's not even interesting. Anyway, that lyric always bothered me, but I have resolved the issue in my heart. Yeah, there's some truth in that. There's a lot of truth in that song. A lot of actual history in that song. Anyway, I'm going to do some low-end stuff here. It's kind of a quiet day. Let's do this one. I wanted to do two that I can't play back to back, and I try not to play in the same set or even in the same show, because they're both very similar. They're quiet C major songs. All these songs are in C major. Well, not this one. I do a lot of C. I like C. I'm not going to get into why. Not here. See, I don't even know how to play it. It got replaced by Tumbleweed. It was finger-picked at first, in a way that I never used, so it was kind of hard to... Coffee and a smoke, baby, yeah, I'm broke. She thinks that I'm a bum, San Francisco, here I come. She thinks that I'm a bum, San Francisco, here I come. Wind is in my hair, you don't miss me, I don't care. My heart is beating like a drum, San Francisco, here I come. My heart is beating like a drum, San Francisco, here I come. When if ever I arrive, you can find me underneath a bridge playing Mozart on a roasted pigeon with my teeth. Teeth are tightly clenched, lying on a wooden bench. Another sleepless night in the bus terminal again. Another sleepless night in the bus terminal again. I had a dream, I was all dressed up like a diamond ring. Me and my girl, without a care in the world. Me and my girl, without a care in the world. But when I opened my eyes, I saw a ragged, dirty mop dancing with a retired transit cop. With my pen and paper in my pack, and the clothes on my back, a pair of golden boots on my feet, I step into the street. With golden boots on my feet, I step into the street. The birds are flying kites above a sea of molten Christmas lights. I open my flask and take a shot of rum. San Francisco, here I come. I take a shot of rum. San Francisco, here I come. And if I never make it back to doesn't mean that our love wasn't true. If anything, it grew.
Yeah, well, that song has a story too. According to this piece of paper written in May of '08 in the Prescott National Forest of Arizona, pronounced Prescott, actually, which you don't know until you get there. Yeah, living in the desert, in the Airstream with my second wife. It's actually the last time. Yeah, that was an interesting year. That whole season could be a couple of books. But that was right before we went to San Francisco for the very last time. I haven't been to San Francisco since September of '08, the city. I've been to the Bay Area numerous times to play since then, but I haven't been in the city since '08. And I think there's no way, I don't think, to write anything romantic about San Francisco these days, which is really a real loss. It's really, really sad because it is one of the most beautiful cities in the history of mankind. And it has become a cesspool. And it's a very it had it coming, as does the whole world. I had a friend from there. He was from the area. San Francisco was always the city when he was a kid. And when we were broken down in the Pismo Beach area, we stayed for a while in San Luis Obispo County. SLO are the initials for San Luis Obispo. And so you see bumper stickers in the area saying, "I'm down with the slow life," SLO in capital letters. And I mentioned it to my friend, and his in-laws were from Arroyo Grande, which is in that area. And he said that he'd been in San Francisco for years, and brilliant artist, talented guy. He never wrote any songs that were true. All of his songs were kind of it's not interesting. But brilliant guy, a smart guy, and a cool guy. Talented dude, definitely a great artist. And he said, "Yeah, they are down with the slow life down there, aren't they?" And he really thought he was like better than the people in the Five Cities area, which is Pismo, Grover Beach, that whole area. And I think that city's eating the consequences of that attitude. It's become a cesspool of, like Portland. I've only been to Portland. I can count the times I've actually been there on one hand. Most of it in the last several years. I don't think I did anything but go through it on a Greyhound and transfer Greyhound until, I don't know, 2015 or something. Seriously, I've never been there. I never was interested in the place. Very beautiful place, impossible to navigate, which is kind of cool. It's a beautiful town, and it's a hellhole. Like it's like your hubris has gone before you and created a situation in which you are going to be destroyed. Pride goeth before destruction. I don't want to get on that. I just that song makes San Francisco. That was the last time that I really looked at San Francisco as a place that would be, because I went there a lot in the '90s, in the early 2000s. I was never there for longer than about a month and a half, 5 weeks usually. Stayed at hotels in Chinatown, which I'm going to play a song I wrote at one of them, two of them apparently, actually, according to this piece of paper, March of '02, at the Sestri Hotel and Hotel St. Paul in San Francisco. It's called Dark Side of the Dog. It's on the Diamonds album. The Sestri Hotel was my favorite hotel in San Francisco. It was in Chinatown. It was owned by Indian people from India, and so the whole second floor, the first floor was a Chinese market. It sold incense and fish heads and cabbage and Chinese things, mostly I think food, but other items. Chinatown was really cool. I always liked it. I liked the vibe of it. And the Sestri Hotel, you go to the second floor, and my only phone number was the pay phone on the second and third. There was two different floors, second and third floor. And you just get kind of a regular room, nothing fancy, for a week, and stay there for 5 weeks. I tried to get jobs, and I played a lot. Some really great open mics in the Haight. There was the Hotel Utah, had a good one. And just kind of becoming, and never stayed there. I never lived there. Me and my second wife lived there in the car to get away from the Pismo area. This is all a very long story. In '08, for about a month and a half, something like that. That was very, very intense. And that was, it kind of, It had its moments. One time we were parking. We were going to go shopping for. I played in the subway, and she'd sell art in the subway. Powell Street Station was the best to live on, and so we were in the Ocean Beach Safeway, which is at the end of the park, Golden Gate Park. It's about a block from the beach, that grocery store, and we were walking out. It was later at night, 9 o'clock, dark, getting dark, or dark, and this homeless guy asked us for some change, and I said, well, I've got like $2. That car over there, we're living in it, so this is half my money, but here, take $1. And he's like, oh no, I'm sorry, man, I thought you were one of them. I don't want your money. He pulls out a bunch of steak, like a pack of steak that he'd stolen from behind the Coke machine. He was standing outside the place, and he had some meat stashed behind the Coke machine. And he said, yeah, me and my friends, we're going to have a cookout in the park. Why don't you join us, man? Meet me at 19th and Lincoln, or whatever it was, and at midnight, and we'll go into the park, which is not gated. You know, you can walk through it all night, drive through it all night. So we met him there. That was a fun night, man. And he led us into the park, and all these homeless people, which are basically, in San Francisco, it doesn't necessarily mean, like it might mean just kind of outlaws to a degree. They're homeless for sure, and there's that vibe, and it's full of speed, which they tried to get us high on speed, which was no fun. We smoked a bunch of weed, smoked a bunch of their weed, and we all had steaks in the park at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, about less than a dozen, 10 or, you know, half a dozen to 10 people. I want to say 8, whatever, people all hanging out on the picnic tables, smoking weed and smoking tweak, and we didn't smoke any tweak, and drinking wine and eating steak at midnight in Golden Gate Park. I mean, that, you know, that's not the kind of thing that happens to you when you live in a house, you know. So it's transient life has its moments. It's fun at first. It exacts a toll on you, which I think is. Well, at this point, I'm not willing to pay it anymore, frankly. It's just too expensive. I have to let my fingers remember this one. Well, am I good enough to be the cause of all problems? Well, am I good enough to be the cause of all problems? Well, I'm gonna hang my sleeping bag in the sky. I'm gonna throw myself a party when I die. Confusion comes like a light in the fog when you're living on the dark side of the dog. Will I ever see you again? You were my friend, now you're just none. Will I ever see you again? You were my friend, now you're just none. I'm gonna hang my sleeping bag in the sky. I'm gonna throw myself a party when you die. Confusion comes like a light in the fog when you're living on the dark side of the dog. When you're living on the dark side of the dog. When you're living on the dark side of the dog.
Goodbye, cigarette burned skies. Goodbye, goodbye for good. Goodbye, cigarette burned skies. Goodbye, goodbye for good. Goodbye for good. Goodbye for good. Goodbye for good. Goodbye for good.
Yeah, I wrote that at the Sestry Hotel in '02. I remember that trip. Yeah, I do. Well, I went there a lot. I wrote that in the hotel and also in the Hotel St. Paul. And that was my other kind of go-to place in San Francisco. It was at the end of, it's on the corner of Columbus and Kearny. And it used to be a really cool 100-plus-year-old kind of old-school hotel of that era. You had to walk up to the second floor. It was nicer than the Sestry. It was also still kind of a transient place, shared bathrooms, which is pretty common. Kind of on the border of Financial District, Chinatown, and North Beach, kind of at the crossroads of all three, kind of in the middle of all of that. And last time I was there was in '08, the last time I was in San Francisco, and we stayed there for a few days to get out of the car. And they had totally changed it, and it had become it was like it was run by the IRS or something. The DMV had taken over this hotel. And not only did it have no vibe, the water was, I can't imagine that it was ever drinkable, but it was obviously bleach. And the woman that was at the desk was just, you get these old school guys who are chomping on a cigar and, the kind of transient hotel desk clerks, the Bukowski looking people. And it would cater to free roaming individuals and not kind of this, and this woman was like a hen in a uniform or something. It was horrible. And it was kind of a miserable experience, but better than a car. But that was only 6 years later. That's a while ago by now. That place used to be cool. San Francisco used to be great, right? Now it's an overpriced. It's always been the one city that I've ever been to that had no middle class. You have people living in extreme rich and extreme poor. Take my hand, take my soul, I gave my life to rock and roll. I got 2 bad marriages and 3 days clean. My bird has sailed, my ship has flown. The whole damn world needs to get stoned. Every girl I know is a beauty queen. Sitting in the dirt in the freezing cold. I know it looks fun, but it gets old. Hold me tight, I like the way you feel. But really I'd rather just be alone between the choice of a love and a broken bone. I say there ain't no difference except the time to heal. Got no history, got no plans. I'm standing tall on my own 2 hands. Look, mono feet. The sky is blue and the glass is green, but hey, I'd rather be free than clean. The dust in my hair don't bother me, 'cause I've got time to get it done, and I'm in no rush to meet anyone. People are crazy, why should I be? When I can be free.
home, living on the side of this dusty road, makes me miss what's left of my family. And yeah, I know the man in church is a very good singer, but I've got more pathos in my middle finger than he's got in his entire maudlin discography. 'Cause I've had it bad and I've had it good. Just 'cause I'm broke don't make me Robin Hood. I do what I can when I see the need. So pick up your Bible and pass the bond. This ain't no redemption song, but I see no conflict and I feel no need. I'm a tumbleweed. I'm a tumbleweed.
Alright, well, I appreciate y'all watching, listening. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Until next time.